This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2. I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a 3-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
There he is. Jeff Kolpack joins us with an email already. Is the Secret Service vetting you for a trip to Washington, D.C., since we found out on Friday that North Dakota State has been invited to the White House again?
We'll never forget when I covered in 2019.
You've gone already.
Yep, 2019. And so sports editor Kevin Schneff submitted my credential request as Jeff Kolpack.
Okay.
And so I get to the White House. Luckily, I went early because you never know what's going on. I got to the White House as early as I could on that morning, and they said, "Sir, your license is Jeffrey Kolpack.
Oh, boy.
We can't get you in." I went, great. All this way, and 3 letters are keeping me from covering this. And so actually I had to dial 911 to the press secretary guy who was handling that.
Okay.
Luckily answered an email and then took care of that process. And then so
I didn't know that.
yeah.
Wow.
And so then we get in there and all the media, there's maybe, I don't know, 10, 12, 13 people in the media. We're sitting in like the red room for like hours, like 2 hours. I mean, you're just sitting there looking at each other. The AP, NBC guy, David Gregory, and they're all kind of huddling on what to ask Trump that day because something was going on in Europe or Britain, and so they were using the Bison appearance to get some sort of access to Trump. So then we get ushered into the whatever room it is that he did his thing. I can't remember what it's called, and we're stuck in the corner like sardines. I'm just like, I'm just good, just smushed. And watching it, and, Trump was pretty engaging. I was like, wow, why can't you be more like that publicly?
Yeah.
Anyway, does that, takes the players into the Oval Office, comes out, and then wraps up the whole shebang. And right about then, as he's walking out, David Gregory shouts a question, "Sir, what about?" And then he just turns into Trump hates media guy.
Yeah.
And just in a dime, it switched like that. I go, oh, that's how that works.
So the neat stat about that, Griffin Crosa went on that trip in March of 2019 he got here early. He was not actually on the member of the team yet. And if I remember right, he actually was right next to Trump.
He was
right up there. Yeah. And now he's going back again. He might be the only guy outside of a couple of assistants.
The only guy in FCS to go twice.
But, yeah, if you missed that announced on Friday. That came from Senator John Hoeven's office, and I know Kevin Kramer been working on that. April 9th is when the Bison will be heading to Washington, D.C., which you can make whatever you will about the current political climate, and I'm not going to go down that road. But that alone is a pretty neat deal for the
White
players
House
to get to go there.
Yep, it's the White House.
I was just saying, from my trips to Washington, D.C., as a historical nerd, it's pretty darn cool. Matter who occupies the office.
Yeah, just to be in some of those rooms of the White House, and you just you feel the history.
So you
literally do.
So literally, did they give you like a 15-minute heads up? Like, hey, it's time to go. Like, did you have anything like that?
You're just sitting in that room, and you're just staring. I'm sure they're looking at me, going, "Who the heck is this guy?" But they were all business, man. Oh boy, were those national media types were all business. There was no levity in there at all.
I imagine not.
Nope.
Yeah.
When I was hey, Jeff Kolpack in Fargo. David, Mr. Gregory.
Not going to happen.
No.
I want to go back to a column you wrote late last week on the NCAA basketball tournament, because people wake up this morning and they'll notice of the 16 teams left, they're from 4 conferences. Mm-hmm. And I would say, get used to it. Because this is what, if your hope of Cinderella and watching George Mason or Loyola Marymount, that dunzo.
Yeah,
that ain't going to happen anymore.
That column was an easy call. It wasn't like Nostradamus or anything. It's just the way things are trending. And you look at the Summit League, and one first-teamer returned last year that
Correct.
could return in Jamar
Brown from Kansas City.
And
Yep.
this year, there's probably going to be zero.
It's going to be
Because they're all. You look at Frankie Fiddler last night for Michigan State. He was the best player on the floor late in the game, and so I'm sure other coaches look at first teamer.
Yep.
You know the kid from South Dakota State went to UCLA.
William
Kyle
Yep.
the third played okay this year, but saw minutes.
Mayo did pretty darn good at Kansas.
And apparently,
Yep.
you see their Eagle staff's getting some pretty hot mention.
Trace at Eagle staff has no shortage of suitors out there.
Was told Virginia Tech is talking to Jakari White.
Yep. Among others, I believe Texas A&M is also pretty hot and heavy on Jakari as well. So that's unfortunately for the people that tune into college basketball for 1 month a year to see a Bison team bubble up with 5 seniors and that's not going to happen anymore.
Callupinform.com. Later today, we'll have a college insider, I think, detailing all these moves and purported moves and maybe coaching news.
That's the intriguing part about it because obviously everyone's waiting on Nico Medved to go from Colorado State to Minnesota, which obviously opens up Colorado State. Drake is now open because Ben McCollum has been hired as the coach
and
at Iowa.
wasn't Eric Henderson mentioned last time?
Hendo's name was definitely in the mix when McCollum got it last year. I think that would be pardon the pun, a slam dunk if Drake wanted to go and get Hendo. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Now, Drake, you cannot disclose salary information because of the private school nature.
Yep.
But what do we think? It's got to be around $1 million, does it not?
Oh gosh,
you're 31-4 this year. Won a game in the NCAA tournament.
Basketball is your deal there. 750.
Okay, somewhere.
I think it's high,
more than South Dakota State.
High 6 figures there,
and that's a good job.
Yep.
When you move up in the coaching ranks, if you can get a team and a program that's not rebuilding so much,
right,
and you with 31-4, that's pretty good. That's gold.
And then who do you take? I mean, look at that South Dakota State roster of those freshmen.
Who does he take with him?
Right. There are a couple guys right there.
Okay,
right?
here we go again.
But I'm saying though, it's not
God.
just it's not just limited to the
football,
to the Power 4 guys. It's also to the mid majors to say, well, wait, here's an easy way to win. I know Seiler can go play. He can play in the Missouri Valley. I'm going to go take him. There's a couple other guys there. If Larson was healthy, I would go maybe grab him.
Any idea what kind of NIL money or collective money that Drake has?
I do not know.
I don't know if nobody really knows, but
I would imagine it's not.
It's got to be something.
It's not chunk change there. So that's something. Denver is obviously open, and I think there's a lot of – we mentioned this on the show last week. Josh Burlow is the AD at Denver, who's the former AD at Duluth, and Justin Wick is a guy that's won a lot of ball games at Duluth.
And that's how you connect the dots in these things for sure.
Right. That would make a lot of sense on that. Now, there's 2 other guys that went in today. Oscar Clough is not surprising. Oscar Clough.
Yeah, we knew that, 2 months ago?
Yeah, that he's going to go. Cause when the JUCO ruling came out, that the 2 guys I looked at were Clough and Jakari because each of them are going to have an extra year, and both are going to go. And Oscar's going to go. Now, granted, he started his career at Washington State and then came to South Dakota State for a year, and he's gonna make a lot of money somewhere, Jeff. He's really good.
Do you think players should have buyouts too? That's what Gino Ariyama says. Goes, I have a buyout in my contract. The players should have contracts, and they should have buyouts.
I agree on the contract part of that. I do. I think we're trending in that direction where 4 or 5 years from now we'll be there. The Summit League first team this year was Oscar Clough, who's going to the portal. Chase Forte is already in the portal. He also had another year because of JUCO. Jackson Money is out of eligibility. Markel Sutton is going in the portal whenever because he's got another year. J.J. White, and the last
is
one,
that for sure on Sutton?
I think Sutton and White are definitely going to do that. The last one is Miles Barnstable from St. Thomas. And by the way, he went in the portal today.
He comes from Division III.
So, right, Barnstable started at Whitewater. He was a really good player there, then lit it up for St. Thomas this year. And, Jeff, he could be playing – he's going to be playing somewhere in probably the Big Ten by the time a month from now, which is amazing that – why wasn't this guy playing high level already? But that's the thing of it now. And for schools like here and in Brookings and Vermilion, I think the hope, if you talk to as many coaches as I have, hey, can we get this guy for 2? Can we get this guy for 3 years? It's no longer can we keep him for 4. It's how long can we keep him here is the big question.
And you're not going to see any coaches in Division I basketball take this week off because talking to Dave Richmond last week, so what's one thing you learned? I asked him, what have you learned about the portal? And he said, you have to act fast.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no waiting around. I mean, you got to find your guys now because it's go time.
So of the Bison players that have gone out on the men's side.
So Bath just went in.
Patrick Bath is in there, who started his high school career at Shanley, played sparingly. Brennan Watkins and Derek Dissett are the other, I would say, surprises, because the other ones we knew. The other guys that were going to go on in terms of Jakari White was going to go play somewhere else. Jeremiah Burke figured. So now that's 5 in the portal, counting the 3 that were out of eligibility. If my math, my Oswego State math, that's 8. I don't think he's done either. There's probably at least one more. I think at least 9 guys you're going to have to figure out for the Bison men next season. That's a lot.
I have no answer. I wish I had some really intelligent comment about that, but that's where we're at in college basketball.
Whether good, bad, or indifferent, it's hard to, in your topics of getting fans out, it's hard to attach oneself to a group when there's that much change. And I think I don't blame fans on that one bit. Like, well, because you could wrap your arms around the Fab Four. You could know that Woodside and Winkleman were going to be here and bubble up for 2009, or Taylor Braun's group in 2014.
And to wrap up what you were getting at, and you asked me about the column I wrote last week, the problem now is you bring in a group of guys over, a 1 or 2 year period, 4 recruits here, 5. You develop them over a 4 or 5 year period. And that's what you get when the Bison beat Oklahoma.
Your one shot.
But they had older guys.
Yep.
Man, they were a veteran team.
Yep.
6 seniors, a couple fifth-year guys. Plus you had Lawrence Alexander, who went to prep school, so he was, in effect, was 22, 23 years old. Yeah. You had Corey Brown, who's a sophomore, who looked like he was 25 and acted like it. Yep. He was a man out there. And so you're just not getting that team you can develop over 3, 4, 5 years. And then you get to March Madness, and that's how that happens. And now it's going to be a total freak show, I think, for some mid-major to reach the Sweet 16.
It really will be. This weekend, I watched the women's tournament. I watched the wrestling tournament this weekend. That was way more entertaining than the men's side. It really was.
Omaha was different this year in that they were picked 8th. Nobody really wanted those guys last year. They were picked 8th in the Summit League Summit League preseason poll.
And they were old, too. They were the exception because White and Sutton had been there for 3 years. They had been there for a bit.
But it's still, I just felt it just wasn't a NDSU of 2014.
No, but they had the one common theme of what the Bison had that year, and that was veteran guys.
Right.
They had older guys playing on that team. But
you could bring in veteran guys from the portal,
which the Bison
but that doesn't mean you're developing over a 3, 4, 5 year period.
Nope.
And when guys play together for 4 or 5 years, it's just different.
Yep.
It's just different.
And that's not going to happen in this level anymore. I mean, if you have a team with a couple guys back that have played 2 years, go for it. You got your chance there, because the hope of seeing a team make it like a Murray State, I'm just taking an example, or something of that ilk, that ain't happening.
You know what
anymore.
I took away from Warhead High hockey? I always felt they knew where everybody was on the ice.
And that's from playing together for so long.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and I don't know how long they played together, but I just felt like they knew where everybody was on the ice. That's good coaching and good players. And that's the thing about basketball. Did he still get do you know where everybody's going to be on the court at all time? Like Ben Woodside knew when Mike Nelson was ready to set up for the 3, or Winkleman was ready to get the ball down low. They just knew that.
Probably not. At least going forward, probably not. Let's break. We come back. We'll chat some football as the Bison have their first day of spring practice today. Pro Day is this week. Discuss that and much more. Back with Jeff Kolpack in hour 2 of Hot Mic after this.
Got a little updated information on salary.
Hold on. Let me hit the email sounder so it sounds we can do that official. Ready? It's coming. Go ahead.
Well, if the Bradley coach, which I understand makes $1 million, which is a private school, then you probably have to believe that Drake coach is a $1 million.
Bradley coach is making $1 million?
Yes.
Wow.
You got to believe the Drake coach has probably got to be in the same ballpark.
Bradley is in Peoria.
Yes.
Which is that's a fairly decent sized city.
There's
it's not Des Moines.
What a friend of mine. There's good money in Des Moines.
Yeah.
You talking about collective?
So more than $1 million. That's a pretty good
$1
job.
million. Well, just put $1 million, okay?
Then if if I'm Eric Henderson's agent, like, yeah, we'll talk. Let's go.
If they haven't
Make it
talked
happen.
already.
Correct.
Yep.
Email comes in on our previous conversation. Dom, that's why it's tough to get a good attendance in Bison basketball games. Players leaving and the ones who stay are making so much that the other students have a hard time relating to them. In years past, athletes are more a part of the student experience. I don't know about the last part.
Yeah.
I don't know if the students care about that the athletes are getting paid. So, and not every basketball player, by the way, is getting something, not in the portal, in the NIL
Yeah, I don't
world.
think there's jealousy by the student
know about
body.
that.
I just think they know it's the way it is in 2025.
I will contend that the arena construction of the arena layout does not help in getting students to the
a lot
games.
of space behind you and I.
There is a
That's
ton
one
of
thing.
space there. And where the students are placed is another. We can go down that. I'll save that for a day and day.
Yeah,
And
okay. All right.
We can go down.
I've got a couple thoughts on
road.
that.
So spring football officially is underway today. Got it going at North Dakota State. The question I've had since Polsek was here on Wednesday, and you were at the press conference on Thursday, is there a quarterback battle at North Dakota State this year?
A little bit, I think.
I think that's the best way to phrase it.
I think you have to. You just can't give it to somebody who hasn't been the full-time starter. I think you got to, and I don't think either Cole Payton or Nathan Hayes would expect that either.
Yeah.
Just to be handed the job. I mean, you have to perform. So yeah, there's always competition. Is there not? I mean, yes, Bryce Lance is going to start on opening day. We get that, but you got to be pushed. I mean, that's just the way it is.
I think, and how Tim mentioned it when he was here, if Peyton was healthy last year, I don't know if we'd have this conversation. That I think Cole would be the guy, because I don't think Nathan would have got his chance to do what he did. But then Hayes went in and played, and I know you're going to tell me it's Murray State or Missouri State, the games that he went in through touchdowns. But the way that Hayes played, I think, opened up their eyes to say he might be further along than we
Showed some
thought.
speed against
Yes.
Missouri State when he
Yep.
broke that run.
Yep.
That was like something we hadn't seen
Correct.
before. And good arm strength. He can, and Randy Hedberg will tell you he can throw it.
Yep.
He's got good arm strength. Now, does he know where to throw it? I mean, I guess we haven't seen him throw over the middle in a heavy duty situation,
Yep.
which is an area where Cam Miller got really good in the last couple of years.
Absolutely right.
Was able to go over the middle.
Yep.
And to be a good FCS quarterback and to lead a team to a national title, you just can't throw out patterns.
Correct. I already got my offensive line question, and so I'm going to go to the other side. Defensive line, and especially defensive end, because that's a spot where Hunter Zenzen retired from football. Cole Menz did the same as well. So the Bison are down 2 depth guy. I know they weren't going to start at defensive end, but that's a spot that D end is now a bit shorter there, that you're going to have to see some guys potentially. I look at if Kelton McCaslin is fully healthy, Jeff, boy, that he looks the part of defensive end.
That's one. Yep. Again, I told you Toby Anene is going to be a first-team All-American.
The way he was
So why
playing
you
at the
have
end of
question
last
marks
year,
on here?
because
They'll find a guy in the portal.
Who's playing behind him?
Yes,
is the
they'll find a
question
guy
mark.
in the portal, and
Because Victor Eisel has not played.
Abe Myers
has not played. That's, to me, is like, okay, well, you're a breath away from having 2 guys that ever seen the field to get out there. That's the scary part.
I think Kyle Manuel's senior year, he played a lot.
He did. He got fortunate.
That's why he was Buck Buchanan Award
He'll
winner.
also tell you he dealt with quite a few injuries that maybe we didn't know about during that time. That, to me, seems really thin at defensive end. I know they added the Albany guy, Jack Giuliano, who's in his 80th year of college football, that he's back. And then, yes, they are going to add another guy, but that's a spot that I keep an eye on.
And that's why you have spring football. They got to figure that out. And so there is a portal. If they need help, they'll get help. I think when you're this program, you have a better chance at finding somebody who can at least play a role as a backup. And if that's your biggest question mark, boy, this is getting a little nitpicky, are we not? Talking about backup DN?
I'm talking about starting DN, because I want to see who's the other. It's not.
I got to believe McCaslin's going to be the guy.
But he's been hurt too.
Yeah,
it's not
well,
automatic that he's been healthy the 3 years he's been in Fargo yet. I'm just saying. The other, and this is for about the 13th year running, is linebacker. Something I know you brought up at the press conference last week, because Staling missed a ton of time. He's going to be the guy in the middle, but you still need a little depth there at that spot.
But you got Enoch coming back, who I think is really good. You got Logan Kopp, who's a veteran presence, and he's really good.
Yep.
Made big time plays when they needed him, and so I think Staling is, as Grant Olson what did he say? Best third string linebacker in America? I don't know.
He told me Staling was the best third stringer in the country at FCS, and this was I think this time last year, knowing full well he was behind Nick Kubitz and Luke Wirtz.
But it'll be his 4th year in the program. Again, you're not throwing a redshirt freshman in there.
I think Austin Altapeter is a guy last
He
year.
can hit.
You see video of him
he
here.
can hit.
That was his first time he was healthy, was all of last year. And he got in, flashed a little bit. Again, if he can stay on the field, that's a big deal if they're able to get some depth at that spot.
So what else do you got? I mean, what's your biggest question mark?
Tight end. Who is going to be the guy to catch the football
I would
on
agree with
3rd
that.
and 7 with a quarterback?
I would agree with that.
With a quarterback that you still need to have some sort of blanket that's not Bryce Lance, who's going to have
They need
3
some
guys
sort
on
of
him.
vertical presence.
Correct.
That would be a luxury to have.
Joe Stuffle was a nice player at that spot, but they don't have a vertical downfield threat at tight end.
Look out for Reese Kessel.
Kessel, okay, is a redshirt freshman that he certainly got the size to do it, but like Carson Williams has been here forever. Finn Diggins has been here for a while. Caden Zenzen's been here for a while. I think between those 3 guys.
Who's the guy from Green Bay that's always hurt?
Nate Forstick is another guy.
He's 6'6", 250.
So between those 4 guys, I think they have 4 career catches, 5 career catches.
Yeah.
That's a spot.
After Stuffle, there's only 3 catches last year from tight ends.
Right. That's a spot to me where Polisic loves his tight ends and loves the vertical threat of that. That's non-existent right now on the current roster. Maybe they have that talent in them. We just haven't seen that flash there. And you look at a stretch, and granted, this is unfair to compare, but 3 straight recruiting classes, the Bison at tight end went Ben Ellefson, Josh Babbage, Noah Gindorf.
Not bad.
That
Not
was
bad.
pretty darn good at the tight end spot.
There are 22 guys returning next year slated. Granted, the portal has still got the spring window, but we believe that's not going to be a factor, we think.
But
there's 22 guys who started at least 1 game last year.
Pretty good.
That's a lot of experience.
It's really good. I had an email come in. Fullback is a spot where they could move a guy over. Yeah, they could. Truman Weremeyer is back again at fullback.
I don't know if he's such a true tight end.
Luke Kokat's another name I've been hearing a lot about.
He saw special teams action, moves pretty well.
I think everybody knows him as the guy who decleated Montana State player in the national championship game. To cinch it
pretty
for
highly
NDSU.
recruited, if I remember
Really
right.
highly recruited guy out of Wisconsin. How about you? What's your position?
Tight end.
spot? Okay, tight end would be it for you.
No question.
I'll look at offense, and if we're not talking offensive line, because if offensive line is allowed, then both the tackle spots would be to me, because Bo Johnson's a guy that has all the physical tools in the world. Can he do it? And then who's the right tackle? Because if Cole Payton is the guy, now the right tackle is the blindside guy. That's intriguing.
I guess I'm going to defer to the head coach, who was the offensive line coach at Iowa, knows the position well, knows what he's doing. He doesn't seem overly concerned about it to me.
He always does that to me. Always, like, he knows what he's doing at the offensive line. Yeah. So, but these questions are warranted this year. You're losing 2 tackles to the NFL. That's pretty legit. We just also had the number come out. 13 Bison will be at Pro Day. We're going to be there live on Thursday, starting at 10 a.m. You can watch, obviously, the show from 9 to 11. We'll have the drills featured. Griffin Crosa, Marcus Gully, Braylon Henderson, Nick Kubitz, TK Marshall, Cam Miller, Mason Miller, Eli Mostart, Hunter Pontius, Loshaka Rokes, Marcus Shepard, Joe Stuffle, and Gray Zabel. Those are the names. That's quite a few. That's the most I can remember at a Bison.
Boy, we're going to be there all day.
It's going to be a little bit. Obviously, the eyes are going to be on Cam, because Cam did not get an invite to the Combine. How many NFL teams come here and to see where he's at? He's going to be throwing to a couple of his guys that he threw to as well.
And what is Gray going to do? So maybe some movement drills?
I would think so.
Is he going to run the 40?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I
Does he need to run the 40?
I think we're going to have him here in studio tomorrow, so I'm going to ask him all that.
Wow.
But for Cam's sake, I'm intrigued on what he does here, because everything was moving in a trajectory that it was pretty. The Shrine All-Star appearance went really well. The game, not so much. I thought the practice leading up went pretty well. How can that manifest itself at Pro Day will be real, and how many coaches or scouts are here is really interesting to me.
30, right?
I mean, does all 32 come? I don't know. Do they need how much more? They don't need to see anything more out of Zabel. They've seen everything they need on Gray. For Mason Miller, for Cam Miller, I think for Eli Mostart, those are the guys that I would think are probably have the reasonable shot at the next level.
I think the offensive linemen have the best chance of doing something for these scouts, just because of the of the pedigree that this program's produced.
Have we had a kicker do pro day before? This would be the first. I can't remember all the years of covering pro day. Have I ever seen it?
Yeah, there has been.
Did Adam Keller do it?
I can't remember who it was.
I don't know if Cam Peterson did it.
Did Drago do?
Oh, Drago may have, but I don't remember pro day officially. Gosh, that might be the first
Maybe he still
time.
had ice on his arm.
LeCompte
didn't do it? No.
No, he did not.
He got invited to a camp.
He did. He didn't do anything officially at pro day, though. This will be the first, if we're actually watching punting drills happen. That'll be riveting stuff for us coming up on Thursday. Eric, what do you got on the tight end catches? We got to go. 16. It's not a lot. Yeah. Boy, and he had 0 last year. So that's all from Finn Diggins had 7 of them in 2023.
Oh,
we got to roll.
Plenty of going on.
No doubt about it. Good to see you, my man. Thanks for coming by. Jeff Kolpack
well.
joins us each and every Monday here on Hot Mic. We'll break. We come back. The hero of heroes from Kindred, Brooks Bacco, will join us after hitting the game-winning shot for the Vikings. That's coming up when Hot Mic returns on this Monday morning. Back on WDAY Extra right after this.